And so one of the things when we got here, again, we were looking at how do we incorporate farming systems, because that's a cheap forage resource. And we weren't getting anywhere. We've been writing grants, and we were talking about just the sheep and grazing stubble. But we didn't get anywhere until we started looking at, well, what advantage can we offer to the farmer? And so our first studies were Sue Blodgett, who is an entomologist who's now in Iowa, met with her, and one of her concerns is wheat stem sawfly. So we started talking about, I didn't know anything about sawfly, they didn't know anything about sheep, but what we realized is with the sawfly lifestyle, they overwinter in the stem or down in the crown of a wheat stem, and so when they cause that stem to lodge. So we waited and we surveyed around the state, found areas with high sawfly infestations. And so we would come in and very short, high-intensity sort of work. We'd graze in the fall, kind of like Devon said. We'd have a small plot, and we would graze it really heavy, but just for 24 hours. Then we had other plots we grazed just in the spring, and then we also had other plots we grazed in the spring and in the fall. And what we found in our preliminary work, and then in 3 years worth of work after that, we could get mortality rates up to about 80–85% of that sawfly. So one of the things we started thinking about, but we wrote a grant, but we never did get funded and then didn't follow through on it. It's kind of what Devon will be talking about with the feedlot on fields. And so we got that idea from some work that was being done in Argentina, where in part of their crop rotation, they were simply feeding, this outfit had 18,000 cattle on feed, and they were feeding them just corn silage because they were more interested in the manure that was coming off the backside than just cattle gains. And so with sheep, one of our thoughts was, if we're just feeding alfalfa pellets, that's not the most economical gain compared to a high grain diet, but you can't hurt them. And there's a lot of manure comes over the backside. So thinking, and we had never done this work, that if we grazed, well, or maybe don't even bother to graze just the stubble, but on Devon's work, when we put the sheep in and then we moved the feeders along, I think we could come close to 100% mortality in that field of larvae. So we did a lot of this up in the Golden Triangle, and Hayes Goosey, who was working here then, talking to the producers, and they said, well, our big thing was summer fallow. And I agree totally with what Perry's saying about summer fallow, but a lot of these guys spent a lot of money, a lot of chemical, a lot of time on summer fallow. So we built this. Brent Rader was part of the construction crew building the fences out here. And so we looked at, the first years was just, I think it was just winter wheat and winter wheat, summer fallow, winter wheat, summer fallow. And what we found were yields were just the same, whether we did summer fallow with grazing. And I think we had 3 treatments. I think there was a no-till, a chemical summer fallow, and then a tilled summer fallow. But we got the same yields, but the thing we saw was we needed more nitrogen fertilizer on the sheep grazed plots. And I think a lot of that was because they'd come in and eat the weeds, but compared to tillage or spraying, it was taking them some time to get that plant to shut down. So we had to put a little more fertilizer on. When we talk about the economics of this, that's a question where I think it depends on what sort of operation you have. If you were on a large scale where you've got a band of sheep and a sheep herder, you don't need fences, there's no additional cost to that sort of operation because that herder and those sheep would have been grazing someplace. So if they're grazing on a large farm system, there's no really additional cost. On the other hand, if you're in an area where you do need extensive fencing and such, then obviously there's more cost to it. One of the things when we did our work here, we ultimately got to the point where we really weren't even all that concerned about sheep. They were just a vehicle for managing crop residues, terminating the cover crop. Well, I should take that back. Devon, was looking at performance on cover crops. But I think if you look at if you have that complete system in mind, a lot of times, what we might have done is come in, cook the best feed with those lambs to be finished. And then when the forage got down, like Devon said, to where it really, either quantity-wise or quality-wise, wasn't really getting the gains on they wanted, we could have tossed in old rams, cull ewes, so use different classes of animals depending upon what you wanted to do. And like Perry said, we ran into some really serious problems in the organic sheep grazing. But one of the things that scientists have a problem with, it's not a problem. If we want to share this information, if we want to publish it, we need to keep our treatments exactly the same. We don't change our rotations. So I know years ago we talked about, and I don't think you could ever get it published, it would be a strategic input grazing system, where some years you might, hey, I think grazing will work. Other times you might say, I think the strategic use of a herbicide would be better, or maybe in a rare occasion even tillage. So rather than the treatment design saying, well, you got grazing here and you can't spray and you can't till, probably a better example would be that intellectual evaluation and then imposing the appropriate treatment. So I think that's kind of it in a nutshell. I think there's real opportunities for incorporating sheep into farming systems, especially organic systems. The sheep don't need to be certified organic to graze in organic crops. One of the ways we got a lot of funding is that we made the argument that organic isn't necessarily sustainable. The amount of tillage that has to go into organic is not good for soil health. Okay? That's what Perry was saying about summer fallow, and that's what got us the money to do the research out here for a number of years. So I think, again, it's that intellectual input over just a cash or a mechanized input that's really would allow us to be profitable, or that synergistic profitability in both the livestock and in the farming operation.